Yo, what's up YouTube? Kalvish here. Today I'm going to be making an Outlaw guide. Shout out to my Twitch. I'm making this video because I reached my sub goal on Twitch, so check me out there. If you don't know who I am, I've been competing for multiple years. I've been playing on the North American ladder at a rank 1 level for multiple years, and I've been playing Outlaw for the majority of this patch. So if you want to know what to expect in this video, I'm going to go over the viability of Outlaw Rogue in this patch. I'm going to go over the best gear you can use. I'm going to go over the best talents you can use, your ideal rotation, as well as the best comps you can play, and some macros to help you guys out. Alright, so there should be timestamps at the bottom of the video for if you guys want something specific like talents or something, you can just click at the bottom of the video. They should be there. But going into the viability of Outlaw Rogue, I think Outlaw Rogue is very strong this patch. It's one of the best melee in the game. It's super strong in 2v2, one of the best melee by far in 2v2. It's very strong in 3v3 and excels in there as well. The only bracket that is kind of awkward to play Outlaw in is Solo Shuffle because of its low burst damage and its reliability on teammates to make it work. For your stats, Outlaw stats are really simple. You can basically use any combination of stats as long as you don't have haste. Haste is completely terrible because you don't get enough energy regen from haste to make it actually worth it. So yeah, just use Verse Mastery. Verse Mastery are your best stats with crit coming up closely behind them. For your tier set, I would recommend playing one set on Chest Piece because the stats are super good. But if you do want to play 4 set because it is technically more damage, then you can play Chest Piece, Shoulders, Gloves, and Legs. Although I would not recommend playing 4 set because the 2 set breaks basically all of your gouges and it's super hard to find gouges without a dot on them if you're playing 2 set. So yeah, I'd recommend just playing the tier Chest Piece with Verse Mastery. So that's basically it for like the specifics of Outlaw gearing, but aside from that, there's Dagger Offhand. Dagger Offhand is alright. It's very minor. If you can get correct stats on it, then you should play Dagger Offhand because you get more poison procs and you get more Fatal Flourish procs. So it's not super important, but if you can, then you should do that. But also, I would recommend playing Badge over Insig every single time. Badge gives you crit, and like I said, haste is really bad. You can't get enough haste for it to actually be useful, so just use the crit instead, and you can just macro it into your dance, and you get guaranteed value from it, right? Alright, so lastly with the embellishments. Embellishments are pretty simple. Just go Fangs. If you can't get Fangs, go Slime Boots. If you can't get Slime Boots, or you don't want to, then go PvP Boots with Sport Glue. Fangs are good because they do a ton of damage. They scale with Verse, which Outlaw Rogue has really high Verse, but unfortunately they can't crit. So if you're going to crit build, I would recommend going Slime Boots instead. You go Slime Boots with the armor patch because Slime crits and it goes through armor. So it's super solid if you're going to crit build. But if you don't, like I said, if you don't want to do either of those, you can just play Spore Cloak with the PvP Boots. So now that gearing is done, I'm going to go over the talents now. Talents are pretty simple as well. This build is the most viable in like every single situation. I would recommend playing a build like this or just this exact build in every single game and you'll see the most success. But that doesn't mean that there's not any talent points you can switch, and there's a ton of people that have builds that are different from this. Like for example, if I wanted to, I could drop Prey on the Weak and Blackjack and go Subterfuge. Or if I wanted to, I could drop 1 point out of Lethality and go Fleet-Footed, or 2 points out of Lethality and go Improved Sprint as well. There's a ton of flexibility in the Outlaw Rogue tree, as well as just the normal class tree. But in the Outlaw Rogue tree specifically, you can switch Loaded Dice, you can switch Float Like a Butterfly, you can switch Ambidex if you really want to, and you can do something like, maybe if I'm fighting Mage Lock, I can switch Float Like a Butterfly for Retractable Hook to get some more mobility. Or I can even take it one step further and drop Loaded Dice for Hit and Run, and then I can also play Fleet-Footed to get a ton of movement speed. So yeah, overall, I would recommend playing this build every single game. I'll probably pin it in the comments, or it'll be in the description somewhere. But yeah, if you really want to, there's a couple talents you can switch around that are still completely fine. Something I forgot to mention, actually, is Dreadblades. Dreadblades, Killing Spree, and Precise Cuts. You can play any of these. None of them are super impactful. People play all of these. If you don't want to keybind for either of these, just play Precise Cuts. It's completely fine. But yeah, that's it for Outlaw talents, really. Regarding the PvP talents now, PvP talents are even more simple than the actual talents. You play Enduring Brawler every game. You never switch out of this, and then these other two, you can play literally whatever you want. If I wanted to play Smoke Bomb, Turn the Tables, I could do that. If I wanted to play Veil, Disarm into a Rogue, I could do that as well. If I wanted to play Control is King with Boarding Party, I could even do that. So yeah, the only required talent for Honor Talents is Enduring Brawler. The rest of the honor talents are super situational, and you can kind of play whatever you want, but if you want some basic honor talents, I'd say play Take Your Cut and Smoke Bomb. Those are pretty basic, pretty viable in every single matchup. So now that talents and gear are done, I'm going to take some time to talk about the Outlaw Rogue rotation. I'd say it's pretty demanding, this expansion, because even though it's similar to last expansion, you have an extra proc thrown in there. That proc is called Audacity, and it makes it so your half-cost uses of Pistol Shot have a chance to proc an ambush that is usable out of stealth. This is really important because we also have a talent called Hidden Opportunity that makes that ambush function like a Sinister Strike. So basically, the whole idea of the rotation in simple terms is to Sinister Strike until you get a Pistol Shot proc, and then you spend the Pistol Shot proc, ideally you get an ambush proc, and then you ambush proc, ideally you get a Pistol Shot proc, and then you rinse and repeat that back and forth while spending combo points in between. Alright, so now I'm going to show you guys on a dummy the very, very basic rotation for Outlaw, and then I'll go into weaving other abilities. So, like I said, all you do, you Sinister Strike till you get a Pistol Shot, and then you want to spend that, you spend your combo points at 6 or 7, and then you use your ambush proc off of your Pistol Shot proc, if you get one. If you don't, you just keep doing Sinister Strike, Pistol Shots until you get one. So I'll just keep doing that. Spend combo points at 6 or 7, I Pistol Shot now, spend combo points at 6 or 7 with Sinister Strike, I get an ambush proc, so I use that first. Spend combo points at 6 or 7, I have 2 Pistol Shot procs now. Spend combo points at 6 or 7, I use my ambush proc now. Spend combo points at 6 or 7. Now I'm going to use my Pistol Shot proc, spend my combo points, use my ambush proc. And then you just rotate that. It's pretty basic, and if you get good RNG, it feels really good and really fluid, but it takes a little while to get used to, and I would really recommend getting a Weak Aura or a Tell Me When to track your opportunity procs as well as your audacity procs, because if you don't have them, it's very, very annoying to manage. Alright, so now that the basic rotation is down, I'm going to try my best to show you guys and explain how to weave other abilities into your rotation. These abilities would include Blade Flurry, Slice and Dice, Between the Eyes, Adrenaline Rush, and Roll the Bones, and making sure you're getting value out of Adrenaline Rush, Roll the Bones if you're playing loaded dice, because it is very important. So you're going to spend your combo point. Your first combo point spender, if you're not dancing from stealth, should always be on Slice and Dice. Your second combo point spender should, no matter what, or your first, if you dance from stealth, should always be Between the Eyes. Now, you get a Greenskins buff, you can spend that on your next Pistol Shot proc. It's not really worth thinking about. You'll spend it passively during your rotation. It's not worth going out of your way to press it by itself if you do not have a Pistol Shot proc. Just don't even worry about it. But yeah, Slice and Dice should be your first spender. Between the Eyes should be your second. The only time it's different is if you do something where you send a Shadow Dance every single cooldown from stealth and you're trying to get the most uptime possible and the most burst possible. In that situation, I would not recommend pressing Slice and Dice first, and I would recommend pressing Between the Eyes first, and then sending the Slice and Dice off of your dance when your burst damage matters less. But I'm going to show you guys on AoE now when is a good time to press Blade Flurry. Blade Flurry is a super solid ability on Outlaw Rogue, and you should definitely try to make sure you're getting value from it. Anytime you're hitting multiple targets, or anytime you don't even have uptime, is a perfect time to press Blade Flurry because it lasts for so long, and the cooldown is reduced from just spending combo points. So it's really nice. You can just press it when you don't have uptime. You can press it for AoE, but you should press it as much as you can because it has a really low energy cost, and it's literally just free damage. So just press it whenever you have a filler global and you have nothing else to press. So now that I've explained how to weave these other abilities in, I'm just going to show you guys a pretty basic opener from stealth with Shadow Dance this time without pressing Slice and Dice to give you guys an idea on how you should open if you're trying to do as much damage as possible in the opener. So the first thing you want to do is Adrenaline Rush first while in stealth because it gives you loaded dice. If you're not playing it, do not do this. You press it after. And then you send your rolls. Now what you want to do is you cheap shot, you send your dance, you ambush, Between the Eyes, you ambush again, dispatch, re-cheap shot, ambush, your dance ends now after you spend your combo points, and then you Pistol Shot, spend combo points, ambush again, spend combo points, and then you go into the basic rotation. And at that point is when you would get Slice and Dice up, you would get Blade Flurry up, you would reapply Between the Eyes if you have to, and you would just go back into the extremely basic rotation. The last thing I want to talk about with the Outlaw rotation is Roll the Bones. So Roll the Bones is an ability. You press it, you can get up to 6 buffs. I want to start out, before I explain how good any of them are or how bad any of them are, this ability really doesn't matter that much. You can literally press it on CD if you really want to, like just give your team haste over and over. If you don't want to pay any attention to it, you absolutely can. But if you do want to min-max and you want to know your best rules by far are broadsides and CDR. I'd say a tier below that would be the crit one, which is this one right here. The one below that would be Grand Melee, which is nice because it actually makes your Blade Flurry hit single target. Normally, your Blade Flurry does not hit single target at all, but with that roll, it does. So, if you're getting a ton of cleave, then the Blade Flurry roll is actually nice. It's really nice to have. So that one's more of a situational thing, but the worst ones by far are Skull and Crossbones, as well as the Energy one. The only time I really like having these rules is at the start of the game, where I don't have my passive stacked super high, so it's inevitable that I'm going to get some bad globals. But yeah, like I said, it's not super important to have Roll the Bones. It's kind of min-maxy. It's not super important to play around. You can play the entire game just pressing it on cooldown. It really won't change that much. So now that I've explained the gear, the talents, the honor talents, and the basic rotation of Outlaw Rogue, I want to tell you guys a few comps and kind of explain why they're good and why they're super fun to play. So the comps I enjoy the most on my Outlaw Rogue are Outlaw Boomy, Outlaw Arcane, Outlaw Destro, Outlaw Enhance, and Outlaw Ret. I think all of these comps are viable. I think they're all super fun, and I would recommend playing them. By far, the best one out of all of those is Outlaw Boomy. I think Outlaw Boomy is probably the best comp in the game right now, off of the top of my head. I think it beats, like, almost everything in the game. It's super, super viable on ladder, but every comp that I just mentioned is very viable, and if you're trying to look to play 2v2 or something like that, you can play Outlaw with basically any healer. I think the best healer is probably Outlaw Resto Druid or Outlaw Holy Priest. I think both of those are super solid. But like I said, you can play with any healer. If you want to play Outlaw H-Pal, you can make that work as well. Alright guys, so for the last part of the video, I want to talk a little bit about macros. So macros they're all preference, really, but I do think some of these macros are pretty important to have on Outlaw Rogue. So I'm going to name a few of them. The first one I would say would be a dance macro. I think putting badge in your dance is really nice. Makes it really nice to press. Feels really good. It lines up. You might as well do that anyways. The second macro would be a focus blade rush. I really like focus blade rush because I can, for example, if I don't have grapple, I don't have step, focus blade rush, focus kick the healer. It's really nice to have. I would recommend it if you don't have it. A cursor grapple is really nice as well. What this does is it basically makes it so I can press grapple without the green circle. So if I don't have the macro, it has the green circle. If I press the macro, no green circle, does it instantly, 0 delay. Really, really nice to have. Feels super good. The last super important macro I'd say would be the stealth macro. This might be the most important of them all, actually. So if you guys didn't know, you cannot press stealth if you have Shadow Dance up. You literally cannot press it. It does not work. But if you have this macro and you're out of combat and you press it, it will cancel your dance only if you're out of combat, and it will automatically press stealth. So that's the first use of the macro. The second use of the macro makes it so it stops your attack completely. If I spam this macro, it will stop my attack no matter what I'm doing, and I can try to fish for a re-stealth like that. Like, for example, let's say I get gouged. I get gouged by a rogue. I have no dots on me, no nothing. The gouge ends, but during the gouge, I'm spamming X to stop my attack, and then out of the gouge, I can wait 2 seconds, get my re-stealth. I'm spamming X so my auto attacks don't do anything, and then I get that re-stealth, and I could do something with the re-stealth. It's very nice to have. If you're a rogue player, I would get in the into a habit of looking for these random re-stealth windows like this. I think it's super nice. The last macro I'm going to talk about is cancelaura Blade Flurry. This one's pretty obvious. All it does is it just cancels Blade Flurry. Blade Flurry will try to not break CC, but obviously it hits like 5 people. So if there's CC on the healer, I just cancel my Blade Flurry. I would recommend getting into a habit of pressing this as well if you don't want to, break your blind or break your teammate's CC or something like that. So that's all the important macros I'd say. The rest of the macros I use are basically just preference. For example, I use Arena 123 blind, Arena 123 cheap shot, Arena 123 sap, focus cheap shot, focus shiv, focus kidney, focus blind, focus disarm, and I think that's it. Focus gouge as well. So those are the macros I use. Most of them are preference. I would recommend having some number of arena macros, just because it really comes in handy, having multiple ways to use your abilities. I will be putting these macros in the description or in a pinned comment, so if you want to copy them, you can just copy paste them into your macros tab. But yeah, just check there if you want any macros. I'll even put an example of an arena macro. Like, for example, I'll copy paste my blind one in there or something, and if you want to make it for kick, you can just switch this, make it kick, you know, if you really wanted to do that. And then you can just do that for all your macros. Super simple once you figure it out. Like I said earlier in the video, I try to stream every day on Twitch at twitch.tv/Kalvish, so if you have any questions, feel free to ask them there, or you can even ask them in the comments of the video. But I might post more YouTube videos in the future, so it'd mean a lot to me if you guys could like the video and subscribe to the channel. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Peace out.